Hello, stranger. It's been a minute since we last kicked. By the way, just got time, and I won't let don't slide. Who am I by? Usually I do this often, but this recording isn't an option. Due to unusual rain and thunder. Baby, I wonder. Baby, I wonder. Put your sweat on me. I got the plug, I made the call. Oh, your late night for you. Let me know back down. Don't hesitate, no, don't you? Just say you will. Come through and chill. Just say you will. Hey, everybody. Come through and chill. What is up, everyone? How are you? Welcome to Earth is School. Hey, how are you, ATM Tim? I am so happy to see you guys. Kawana, what's up, sis? I am so happy to see you guys. Welcome. Let me know where y'all listening from. I'm going to give y'all a couple of seconds to get in here. Thank you for tapping in, for tuning in to Earth is School. We have an interesting topic. We have a long topic that I'm going to try to shorten today. What's up, Smiley Coast 78? I missed you guys yesterday. What happened? Cali in the house. Senegal in the house. Yes, a few more seconds, you guys. Welcome. Y'all, I really be jamming to the intro. Like, I don't know if y'all feel the way I feel about my intro, but that's my jam session time. Okay. Raleigh, North Carolina. I know it was no sound, right? Y'all. Okay, first of all, let me turn this into the message that I got from this, because yesterday I had a topic that was really dear to me. Anytime I talk about the brain, it's really dear to me, right? And I was like going in for like 45 minutes. Yesterday's episode was like 45 minutes, and I was going in and I was seeing that people were coming in and then leaving, which never happens. So I'm like, what? And then it was like, by the time, like, I'll say like the whole time, it might have been like four, maybe five people that were in there. And so I'm just like, what the heck? And I just kept telling myself, I'm not going to worry about the numbers. I don't care if it was just one person on here. That was the person that's supposed to, receive the message. And I'm going in about the brain, y'all. Like yesterday's episode. Oh my God, I'm going in about the brain. I'm breaking down the different brain waves, and I'm just going in. And then towards the end, or I guess after it finished, I was a little discouraged because I'm like, wow, like it was really no interaction. There was nobody in there. And I had to check myself. I'm like, you know what? It's okay. This is everybody's beginning story. Earth to School is going to be huge. I even mentioned it. I'm talking to myself, thinking that I'm talking to y'all. And I'm like, this is going to be on all major platforms one day. So I appreciate you guys for being here in the beginning. All this stuff, I'm like talking myself up just to not be caught up in the illusion of it not being such a good outcome. And then I go back to listen and you can't hear nothing for 45 whole minutes. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, maybe I'm tripping. I have my homegirl go and check. She's like, no, there's nothing. I'm like, yo, what? Y'all didn't say nothing. But I appreciate that for whatever reason that it needed to happen. And for one reason I know was that I was proud of myself because I didn't let it change my energy. And it also shows the way that, like, imagine if I had went to sleep feeling like, dang, like, second guessing myself. Because I was like, okay, I know that the brain is a boring topic for most of us. But I'm like, damn, y'all know I talk about the brain. Like, y'all wasn't feeling it like that. Like, people were coming in and just like, oh, yes, you talking about the brain again. Like, that's kind of what I had to fight through. And it took me a couple seconds. And I'm like, no, it doesn't even matter. So I'm so glad that I didn't get caught up in that, because really, y'all just didn't even hear anything that was going on. And so, yeah, it's just so many things be an illusion. That's the message I got. Don't get caught up, because so many things are an illusion and we only see 1% of something, which y'all probably tired of hearing me say, but I'm gonna keep on saying that. That neuroscientists say that we only see 1% of what's really happening. So I'm glad that I seen more, because I could have got caught up in something that wasn't even real. Yes, sunny here in Senegal. Oh, okay, I'm Senegalese, but I live in New York. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, we cannot hear any. Kind of thought it was the internet, right? And you know what? I appreciate the ones who held on, okay? Because y'all stayed. I don't know how or what or why, but a lot of y'all stayed on. Because even 5 of y'all staying on for 45 minutes is a lot. Like, that's still just like y'all have faith that I'm coming in. Like, any minute now, the sound is coming on. I know. No, I really appreciate you guys. I really do. Okay, so let's do our breathing and let's get into this topic, all right? So, for those of you that are new to the show, this is Earth is School. I am your host, De La Soul. Before we start this show, because going into a circle of people or any kind of dynamic where we're expressing ourselves and we're having these feelings, we can easily take what we have been going through during the day into our thoughts, into our conversation. And so we just do this real quick release. This is the same thing I had done or at least one of the major things I did to help to heal myself of diastasis recti. So this is how I help people strengthen their core, and lots of things I talk about with the spinal fluid, feeding your brain, stuff like that. So real quick, we're going to breathe in. You're going to push your navel back into your back, and you're going to just hold it in. You're going to suck it in, suck it in, suck it up. You'll hear me instruct you, and then you will release. Okay, so on 3, 1, 2, 3, breathing in, breathing in, breathing in. Pull your navel to your back, hold it in, hold it, and release. And you can feel the release. I do this with children. I've done this with groups of children before, and you can see the release. Okay. You can feel it from holding it. All right, one more time. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Breathing in. Breathing in. Up, 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 up. Hold it. Hold it up. This one is a little bit longer. You can do it. And release. All right, good job. Good job, y'all. All right, so let me go to, I don't know why my notes do not transfer over to this other device. So I have to go in and out of the music. But yeah, so the topic I wanted to talk about today is about this battle of the sexes that is going on in America amongst Black Americans that I've noticed. Woo, this is a lot. I don't know. I hope I can cram this all into one. And if you guys want to come on and speak, please feel free. This is I don't think I say that enough, but Earth is Full is open mic. I feel like there's going to be certain times that I that I won't leave it open, but for the most part, open, especially for this topic. I would like to hear from you guys. So if you want to come on for a second, let me know. And towards the end, we'll do that, or maybe somewhere in the middle. All right. So this Black American battle of the sexes. Have you guys noticed that there is this battle between us? Like, I don't know what it is. I started to notice it. Okay, let's back up a little bit, because obviously there's been this thing since like slavery, right? If we want to go all the way back, there's been this thing of like, you did this. If you guys are into our history, then you know that there's been this thing like, you did this, you did that. Oh, you wanted it. Oh, you da 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 da. Well, you can't protect me because of this. There's always been this thing, right? And then this thing died down tremendously. I feel like throughout like the 50s and the 60s, as we got ourselves together, and started just coming together, or we were together during that time. And then after that, going forward, with the media and stuff like that, things change. Um, we know how the system was constructed for us to not be able to have our man in the house, freely, if we wanted to, have benefits and certain things like that, and all the other things. Gangs beginning later. Okay, I'm just kind of rushing through the timeline of us. But here we are today, and I don't know what the hell has been going on in the past few years. Like I mean, few in the literal term, in the last 3 years, like since I've been in Senegal. Because I started to notice it like maybe 2 or 3 years before I left. I started to notice it, and I'm talking about through the eyes of social media, like this battle of the sexes. I started to notice. Now we know that women, we've been on some men ain't shit for a long time, right? Since the no scrubs era, you know, we kind of been on that, right? So that's, we're not taking away from that. But then it seems like men weren't as verbal with feeling some kind of way about us until like these last, I'm gonna say first, the last few years before I left. So like those 3 or 5 years, it was happening more on social media. You would see men like talking about us more, even if it was talking about women's odor, and or our they don't like us natural, or they don't like us with weaves or whatever. That, like, I feel like it kind of started with that, and then like now it's on to like bigger stuff. And I don't know if you guys, the only reason I'm saying that I don't know if y'all noticed this is because I could be looking on the outside in, and that could be why it looks so, because I'm over here with different people, Black people that are not from America, and I'm looking in. And it's just looking crazy, y'all. And y'all know that I have these platforms from Facebook to Instagram. So I interact with men and women, from the States very often. Like sometimes I get these messages. I just had a brother send me some stuff yesterday about this subject. And that's kind of what made me want to go back in my notes and say, okay, let me pick this up and see, how we can dig into this. But it's just really crazy. Like there's like this battle of the sexes. There's this battle of who has it worse, like who has it harder. And I'm not seeing this amongst white men and China and women, or Chinese men and women. I'm only seeing this amongst Black American people. I don't even see this amongst the Black Africans or the Black people that live in Europe. Maybe it's happening on, I know men are doing their hate podcasts and stuff. I know that's like a thing. But I just feel like there's this thing. Let me see if any of you guys, let me go back in the comments before we go in, and what you guys are saying, if y'all noticed this. Yes, Michael. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely social media and plants from outside. Yeah, our communities. The relationship culture is definitely very different in Senegal. For sure, it's very different. Yes, to cause division. For sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh, yeah, we're about to get into that, because that's really what it comes down to, is us feeding into this stuff. So Okay, so I mentioned men talking about us a lot more. We know women have been with that. So, and then you guys know I kind of say what I write and then I elaborate on it. So women, um, so we know that women have been doing this for a minute. And then so okay, recently, just with us as women, there's like this attitude though, and maybe this has been like a slow come up, I believe, but then it's like now it's like set in stone. Like we are not doing anything unless you are flying us out. And I just seen a video yesterday where a woman was like blasting a dude because he took her to the Cheesecake Factory. Like we ain't even on some like you got to take us out. We're like you got to take us out to certain places now. Like we're on another level of I guess we're calling this standards or whatever, but it's just like another level of you got to prove yourself financially, or I don't even like I'm not playing around. Like where there's no more we can build this together when it comes to Black American relationships. It's very rare, and I'm saying that from a woman's standpoint, from what it seems like that we like our whatever you want to call it, our culture now as Black American women, we're just like nada. You said what? You can't send me $100 on the first day I met you? You said, huh? I told you that my lights is about to be cut off and I got kids and we've been talking for a week, and you mean to tell me y'all tell me if y'all agree or not, but I just feel like women are not playing games, and I do understand the not accepting the struggle love thing or whatever, because I feel like Africans are a lot different in this sense, where African moms, African aunties are like, you got to get the man with the money because we can't be going through that because we got stuff to do with the kids and with the, like, and I get that. And I feel like for a long time um, we have been encouraged to go with the struggle love. I guess that's what we call it or whatever. Right. So I kind of like that we're not just, I mean, we do need to be going in our relationships asking a man, what are you doing financially? Like, what have you accomplished and what are you trying to accomplish? But then the other scale of it is like, dang, like, we ain't cutting these brothers. Like, we on our city girl shit, even if we saying that we want to be wives. Like, we not playing. So I feel like that's one level for us. We're just kind of like we're really not playing when it comes to that, and men are really being put down, like or maybe the pressure is being put up because we're not playing when it comes to what we are expecting you to have financially up front. And um and so then oh my bad, let me find out where I'm at. And and then there's this battle of, so and I'm seeing men be about this more verbally, is this battle of who is going through more, right? So who has it harder? We're like competing on our struggles, which is crazy. Like competing, like Black people from America specifically competing on, I mean, competing on our struggles is like the craziest thing to me, because we already know what we come from, what we have come from specifically in America, right? As far as slavery, we know we come from way more than that, right? But as far as the history of America and how we most definitely did not get a head start, we got the complete opposite. And so when I hear, I don't know if you guys have seen posts like this or you've seen people in the comments going in about this, I get these messages a lot. And it's just Black women being like, but we go through this and we're tired of this, and Black men being like, but we got to go through this and y'all not hearing us on this. And so um it's really kind of crazy too, because I think that in black relation, I mean, when it comes to why this conversation is being like this, the main thing is that we're not listening, right? But then we already have this thing of we don't want to be punked. I feel like when it comes to the opposite sex in our culture, we don't want to be punked. We don't want to be like, like you telling me what to do, you know, like we're almost like enemies with each other when it comes to that. So I feel like in this conversation, it's very hard for us to listen to each other when it comes to this subject, because we already are on the edge with, you not about to be bullying me, you know, I don't have to obey you. Like we kind of have that energy with each other. Okay, let me go to the comments real quick because I want to keep up with you guys, because this is a lot. Okay, I agree with you. Yes. Oh, okay, you saw that video too. Yeah, it was sad. It was crazy. I'm like, really? Where have you been eating at? I mean, I get it. It's just the Cheesecake Factory. But come on, you gonna put the man on blast? Which was ridiculous because he ended up there because she was because she was an hour late. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh wow. Oh wow. You see, that's what I mean. Like we're really like, what's happening? What's happening? It's a lot more content that I'm seeing like that, where we are showing up an hour late and just having like hours late even. I seen one video with the woman doing that, and she was upset that he didn't wait, that he ended up leaving. But I mean, it's really like this attitude that's like, I got a vagina, I know how to cook, and I'm every man's dream. So you need to be bowing down to whatever I say, kind of thing. And that's not even what I want to get into, but it really is this kind of energy where it's like that, on top of, I'm a woman and I've been through all of this. And so this is what, you know, I have the right to be like this. And then the man is coming back, but you, okay, I hear you, but I've been through this. It's kind of really, really crazy. So I wanted to start with like, why is this battle happening? Like, why is this battle of the sexes, of who's been through more, and this whole thing even taking place? And I feel like the basic way, the basic thing that we should start with is knowing that it comes from mommy and daddy issues. I feel like the people who are having this battle, because when a black man comes to me and says, I'm going through this and I'm going through this, I'm able to hear him because I have a healthy relationship with my father. And I'm not saying that if you don't have a healthy relationship with your mother or your father, then you can't do this. But I am saying that a lot of the people that cannot hear the opposite sex, it's really a no-brainer that when you have had a unhealthy relationship, and it may not even be your father, it could just be with men in general. It doesn't even have to be just with your father, but if you've had a lot of bad experiences with the opposite sex, it is going to be harder for you to hear the opposite sex. And maybe I can go further to even say it doesn't even have to necessarily be a healthy relationship, but you just being able to see what that individual, what the opposite sex has been through. So I believe that with my personal experience watching my father go through things as a black man in America, and even seeing the leniency that he has on black men. Like when I have been in my relationships, if I was struggling with my black man, my father never made me feel like, oh, you need to leave him because he just lost his job. Or he never made my man feel like, you know, what you doing with my daughter? Like, you know, you failing because you don't have the money. Like, and you know, you supposed to be a man. So he's kind of like helped me with being able to have that understanding, and not saying that I'm excusing, you know, that, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like whenever you don't have that, whenever you don't see that, and if you've had a lot of bad experiences with the opposite sex, it's going to be harder for you to see that this battle of, you know, I'm going through this and I'm going through that. It's going to be harder for you to hear what the opposite sex is saying. And so I really believe that for a lot of us that are having this issue, with this, you know, in this conversation, not being able to see eye to eye, it is because it starts from our childhood, or I should say that is one huge reason, or huge way. Another thing is the influence from our music. I mean, this is almost like a no-brainer to me because I know that a lot of Americans, a lot of people from our culture, we haven't really. So maybe it's hard for us to see. I mean, you can see it on social media, but maybe it's hard for us to see the impact that Black American culture has on the world. But we're so powerful with our influence that we don't even have to have our passports and be the ones who travel that much. And our culture is in every corner of the globe. I can stand confidently by saying that I don't think that there's any culture in the world that has more influence than Black American culture. So if we are influencing the world, if you can go to China and to Thailand, to places in Africa, and you can see that they're listening to our rappers talk about women cheating and women, doing this and doing that, and then we can see our female rappers talking about taking a dude for his money and yada yada yada. How could it be that we wouldn't be like, we're the ones that created, we're creating this music and this culture, so we got to be the most influenced by it. And so what I see when I'm talking to a lot of my homeboys, even my homeboys here in Africa that love our music, a lot of them are paranoid about women. Some of them haven't even been in real relationships to be as paranoid as they are. But they listen to Lil Baby and Young Thug, and I don't even know these rappers' names, but they listen to all these rappers that talk about women being low down dirty and setting men up and all of this stuff. And when I'm talking to them, I'm hearing the lyrics that they're listening to come out in our conversations about men and women. And I'm like, dude, that's not even your experience. That's the music, that's the song you was playing earlier in the car. And so it's the same thing for us women. We know even from our, our TV shows, our city girl era that we're in. It's no doubt we cannot music. Music is really powerful. It comes with energy. That's what vibration is. So without even getting spiritual and scientific, it's going to impact us. And we're hearing it through the movies that we watch. They're paying and having it in the movies. We're hearing it while we're driving down the street. You don't even really have to be listening to it. Like, it's an energy. So it doesn't even have to be something that you literally go and play, and it still can influence you. So especially if you're a single woman and you're experiencing men playing games with you, and you might turn on some of that music to kind of help you get in that mood of like, all right, let me be strong, let me kind of toughen up. That is going to affect you. We cannot deny that. Like, if the whole world is being influenced, we have to be the main ones, because we're the ones that is creating this culture of music. It's us that's putting it out. So how can it not be that the music is being, like, it's one of the top influences? Most definitely, like, without a doubt. And so let me read some of the comments. It'll be so cool if I get through all of this in like 45 minutes. That's my goal. And to be able to have some of you guys on if you want to come on. Trauma, yes. Childhood, yes. Kalana says it's happening on both sides. It's the narcissistic culture of us. Yes. Smiley Co said, "You so right. You're not about to punk me." Look, we can elaborate on this, because I'm not going to lie. This is how I went into my relationships. I remember having the epiphany of like, why do I think like this? Why am I feeling like you trying to punk me? I'm like, oh my God, it's a Black thing. Like, it's us growing up with our cousins and stuff in the hood. Like, you ain't about to be punking me. Like, like, we start off as kids. We start off as kids with the "you not about to be telling me what to do" and punking me situation. So it's definitely a real thing, and it really turns us against each other real early. Yes. People need to realize holding on to hatred for the opposite sex is destructive. Most definitely. We're going to get into that because it is. Letting those negative experiences affect you, that's definitely another one. We can put that right in the bucket of why this battle of the sexes is happening with us. It most definitely is letting our negative experiences, whatever happened to the old saying of not letting your past experiences predict your future. The total opposite is happening. People, I have a video. I have one of my Earth to School videos, and I'm talking about. I think it's the video. I have a part one and part two, and the question is marriage easier or harder, or is being single easier or harder? And I'm talking about how we really will, like, when single people, when we see us express what it is like being single, and we're like, it's not for the weekend, yada yada yada. It's really that this person just had a date, just went on a date, skipped all the red flags, and went on the date anyway. And they had this experience with this person that wasn't a good communicator, that really just wanted them for sex, or really just wanted him for money. And then they're on social media and they're expressing how it is, and they're telling everybody that this is how everybody is. Oh my God, y'all. Like, I'm telling you, I'm not going to lie. I've been exhausted. I told my homeboy like a month ago, I'm exhausted with speaking to Black men from America. And I don't even be talking on no relationship stuff. I'm talking about just my friends. Because the way that this, y'all, like y'all women, the way y'all women, and women, we do it too. I'm just speaking about the conversation that I had. But we're putting everybody in this category, and it just shows that all it really shows is that it shows where you are. Whenever you're speaking to one individual, if you're speaking to one Black man and one Black woman, and you're saying y'all, well, you know how y'all are, well, you know how y'all do, all that you're doing is telling on yourself. You're telling that this is the kind of connections that you're attracting and that you put up with. You're not really saying anything. And it's just so crazy how much we've been projecting our personal choices on everybody, and then making that into the argument of, this is why I have the right to say that it's harder for us. Yes. As Laney says, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Sorry. There was this guy who considered himself a nice guy. So he believed that women should date him. Oh my God. That's red flag. I haven't even read the rest. Red flag. That's scary. Anybody saying I'm a nice guy or I'm a nice woman. He said that women who reject him deserve to be hurt and assaulted because they choose toxic men. Mm. Women who reject him deserve to be hurt and assaulted because they choose toxic men. Woo! Talk about hurt. Talk about, baby, you are hurt. What happened? Let's go back to what is going on with the relationship with you and your mom. Because that's where that kind of stuff stems from, and it runs so deep. All right, so I talked about whether you're listening or not, it's still an energy. Don't even get me started on the Love and Hip Hop and I don't even know the other shows, the stuff that we're watching, even some of the I mean, not the reality shows, but the shows like, Power, and y'all, I'm so dumb when it comes to TV. Like, I don't even know what the shows are called. I can't even speak on it. But I know it's bullshit in there. I know all this stuff is in there, okay? And then we don't listen to each other. We don't listen to each other. So we are competing. We have this thing where we're like, I go through this and I go through that. But let's break it down, because what Black women go through, we go through being labeled as angry. We go through being labeled as ghetto. We're labeled as too strong. We don't need a lot of help because we're so strong. What Black men go through are situations even more, even though we go through this too, but with the police, we know that a Black man is very quickly labeled from the police and other people as being a threat, being a monster, being a thug, being seen as scary. So if this is the truth, then what are we battling? What are we even battling if we both have things to say? Like there's struggles as being a woman, period, right? That every woman, no matter what ethnicity and background that you come from, that we can all agree and all come together and say, right? And then there's struggle as men, just all men, no matter what your race is, that men can all come together and relate and say. And then when you put skin color on top of that, you have an extra thing. And then when you put being from a certain place and dealing with a certain a certain system that was specifically designed for you, then you got extra stuff. So it's like, what are we really battling? Like, we're competing about nothing, because just as I can say, well, I go through this and I go through this, you can also say, Black man, well, I go through this and I go through that. I think the best way to approach this conversation first is to look at it as if you're speaking about your child. So if a Black man is speaking to a woman that is expressing what she goes through as a Black woman, think as if this is your daughter talking. Don't think about this being your woman or just any woman. And then you can have a little bit more empathy. Because when I'm speaking to a Black man and I'm thinking, and I'm listening to him and what he's going through, I think about, of course, if this is my man and what I've seen in my relationships, the men that I've loved to go through. And then I also think about my sons. And it's like, how can I even battle with you? Like, you're telling me that this is what my son is going to have to experience. How can I even battle with you? So I think it's really important for us to step back. A lot of you guys are having these conversations when you're dating, and these are some of your first conversations. The brother I was speaking to last month about this, and he said he was just talking to women that he had been, trying to get to know, and this was just like a theme in the conversation. And I'm like, wow, I've been seeing this a lot too. And it's like, we're crying out. Black women are like, we want to be protected. We need this and we need that. And Black men are like, well, what about us? How come you ever heard of like both things being right? Like, what is it? Two truths being true or whatever. I don't know the saying, but two truths being right. How come we both can't be right in that? Why we both can't win with that? Right? We both go through horrible things that really should have no comparison. The only thing that we have on men is our safety. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the only thing that women have that men don't have is an extra thing with our safety. Like, who's walking who to the corner? If it's 10 o'clock at night and I gotta get home, am I walking you home or are you walking me? You're going to walk the woman home, right? Because there's an extra thing with our safety. And that's just because we're women. So it's like, other than that thing that we can't escape, that we know it has to be, we are really dealing with the same situations, just in a little bit of a different form. And sometimes it's the same form. Our struggles are very similar, so much that we shouldn't even be arguing them. I wrote, this argument is an illusion because there's both men and women who can have it easier or worse. Or worse. I didn't say worst, okay? Or worse. And we both will go through worse shit. So let's back up, because the reason why this is also just a stupid argument is because there are also Black Americans that didn't deal with half of the shit that half of us have dealt with. Like there's some Black Americans that don't even connect with what we're talking about. Y'all know that? Like, there's some Black Americans that's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I grew up over here, and I had this and this and that. So I'm not even like, so that it's like it further validates why this argument is irrelevant. We shouldn't be arguing because there's also some people that have just had a dynamic growing up and had a different level of a protection and just a totally different experience. And it's not even this whole struggle of, you know, this competing of struggle. When women talk about this, it's emotional because we have a long history of not being heard. So let's not act like Black women are heard, okay? Because we're not. We know that women are not heard in general. Women specifically have a long history of not being heard, right? That's the whole Me Too movement and all of that. So then, of course, when you put Black on top of it, we're too strong. We got attitudes, you know, everything else that's put on us. So then we're really not heard. It's the reason why we're all mad at Carly Russell, right? Because we're like, damn, girl, like we was finally getting listened to. which let me elaborate on that too. I hope that we understand that the Carly Russell story, she would have never went as viral if the police would not have been called. I don't know if you guys know this, but even I just seen in there's one city, I don't know what city it is, but they even changed the name of the Amber Alert. Like it has okay. Okay. I know what happened last night. Somebody called me and it muted. I guess when someone calls me, it just totally takes it out. Okay. Bahana. Okay, this makes sense. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. That's what happened. Now I know because somebody called me and then I didn't see the mic. The mic wasn't vibrating anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to Carly Russell. Let me read some comments. Let's see. That's so funny that you say that because his mom spoke out and she said the same exact thing. She said it was her fault. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, most definitely, man. My heart aches. My heart aches for so many men that have those kind of like thoughts that they put out about us. It comes off like, oh my God, he's so this and he's so that, and it is narcissistic, but it really does come from their relationship with their moms. It's funny because we always talk about boys need their dads. A boy needs his dad, but a boy needs his mom too. Like kids need both their parents, regardless. Like period. These men are a lot of men are hurt. Why are we able to put so much emphasis on women and daddy issues? Like, you know how long I heard daddy issues? Like all my life I've just heard daddy issues. Like that's all we've been able to say when it comes to women, daddy issues. We do not talk about mommy issues enough. It's almost a taboo topic. Like maybe in the next 20 years we can start mentioning that men do have mommy issues. It is not like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. that if we're complaining about men who don't listen to us, we're talking and we're trying and we're screaming and we're crying and they just don't hear us. We have to look at the relationship that they had with their growing up with their mom. I'm talking about since age 5 and 6 and 7. If the mama was slapping him upside his head and cussing him out all the time, why would he be able to listen to you? He tuned her out a long time ago so he could cope. Like by the time he's in his teenage years. This isn't blaming women either. This is just stating facts, because when we talk about daddy issues, we don't even blame the dad. We're still blaming the woman. We're like, you got daddy issues, you need to fix them. So this is not blaming women, although, you know, we need to be accountable. But hopefully it's like I'm telling my friends all the time, like, don't talk to your son like that. You have to talk to your son. You should talk to all your kids like this, okay? But I'm just saying, putting emphasis on when we are raising boys, talk to them softly. Be the vehicle for them to know what they need to, like, what needs to be their standard. Be the standard for them. Because unless you want to be having his woman calling you up, his wife is crying all the time because he's so mean to her and he can't listen. He can't listen to her because he hears you in her. When she's crying and she's trying to make him a better man, he is hearing you and how you have went in on him every day about whatever subject. Or you done popped him upside his head and called him out his name. How come we can see this so easily for women? Like for women, we can see that if a father wasn't there or if he was abusive, then no wonder you have attachment issues. No wonder you, sister, are going through, you know, this I hate men thing or whatever, niggas ain't shit, you know, all of this. It's no wonder you could do this. But for some reason, we do not connect dots when it comes to men, when it comes to us raising our boys. And we have to do that. We have to get out of this taboo thing because they should be hearing us speak to them softly. And we got to know that there's a link with that. We can change the world. Mommies, like boy moms can change the world, okay? If we talk to them more softly, we can change the future, at least that part of it. There is also a huge issue with what makes a man masculine. Most definitely. That's a whole topic right there. That's a whole episode. Yes, both things can be true. The kings protect the queens to the best of our abilities. We're prisoners of war, but we still have our duties. We're prisoners of war, but we still have our duties. It's interesting because I understand, I'm it's not my place as a woman to tell a man like how he views his stance in the world. And I know a lot of black men, because there is a war in a sense, and sometimes there's a war going inside of us. I understand that talk of like, you know, we're prisoners of war and we're in a war. But I do wish that we could come out of some of that. I think that like black awakened people or black conscious people, I do wish that we can come out of that. Just that talk of that, because while there is a battle, while there is a system that is set up against you, there's also an entire system within yourself, within this universe, that is set up for you. There's a whole world of entities working for you. Source is always working for you. And so while we have this earthly system, you know, of whoever we won't even get into, that have created this thing against us, it also, like, life doesn't have to be a war. Like, I guess, I mean, that's why I said, like, it's not my place to tell black men where to speak from when it comes to this, right? So I'm not trying to like change, you know, your words or tell you, you know, not to speak. I know a brother that I respect very well. And he speaks like this. But also I know about the power of words, and that's what I do for a living, is teach on our concept and where we're coming from with how we feel. And if you feel like you're always in a war, if you feel like you're always in a battle, then you're always going to be in a battle. You're always going to be in war. And you are, and you don't have to be. Whether that means moving away from where the war is constant, or just changing your thought process. And I know that's not the subject, but I also feel like it does go into that, because we're talking about the battle of, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. I'm feeling like, I'm going through this and I'm going through that. And so it's like, it is a thing. Like, I'm not taking away from that, because there's a whole thing. Like, the men who set up slavery already decided that if we ever have to free them, let's make it really hard for the man to even feel like a man. Let's buck break him and make him not even be able to provide. And there's a whole thing with that. So I'm not taking away from that, but I will encourage Black men to be aware of how you speak of yourself being in a war, being in a battle, because you don't have to live in a war. Like, that's not what God wanted for you here. Like, that's just a part of the journey. Like, that's just a I don't know how to explain it, but that's only like a part of the matrix. And we don't have to live through that war all the time. Even when it comes to the level of racism that we experience. Even Malcolm X said that when he left America, when he went to, what was it, Morocco, wherever he went, he had a whole different concept on white people. He was like, it's different. He's like, racism still exists out here, but it's different. So things don't have to be like that all the time for us. And I think that if we say that, then it means that we believe that. And if we believe that, then we be that. Like, that's what it's going to be. Uh-oh. So y'all can hear me now, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I definitely want to hear from men. I want to hear from all of you guys on this. Okay, so Carly Russell. I know this is not the subject, but I want to say this real quick since I mentioned her. She was only like that thing, her story only got big because she called the police, because our stories do not get big. And that was the point. The point was me talking about Black women not being heard, right? Because we're not. And I've seen a lot of comments with the Carly Russell thing, and it was like, oh, well, you ruined everything now because we were finally going to be heard. And no, we weren't. It's not happening. Okay. Things are not going to change. It's what it is. It's not that. It's just that for the police department there, for the city, it would have been a bad look if her phone call would have been accurate. It had already made it to dispatch, and then that ended up happening, and then they didn't make it a thing. If they didn't treat it like the Amber Alert, then it would have been a bad look for them. But most definitely, that story would not have gotten as big as it did. That's why she did it. She's like, I mean, okay, I ain't gonna say why she did it because something was loose in there. But I'm just saying that she definitely didn't expect that, because our stories don't get heard. I actually know a few missing Black women right now that we just probably will never find them. And then that's just what it is. You guys probably do too. So we know that there's a thing. The reason for me mentioning this, I was saying that I said that when Black women talk about this, it's emotional because we have a long history of not being heard. And I said, let's not act like we are hurt, because when I see this battle online, that's what I see. I see this illusion of like, this is what's happening. There's confusion taking place, because what women do is that we do talk amongst each other. We do have an outlet. Men don't have an outlet, because most men are not talking amongst each other. So because we communicate with each other and we most likely have more support in that area, when this battle of the sexes is coming up, it's like, but y'all are heard because y'all are always talking to each other. Y'all are always, that doesn't mean like we want to be heard from the opposite sex. We know we're heard from each other because we're sitting up talking about it together. But we want to be heard from the opposite sex, and we want to be heard from the world, and we're not. So that's what Black women mean whenever we say that. And then at the same time, while we have this long history of not being heard, men have this long history of not even being acknowledged that they need to be heard. Like, what about that? There's this thing about men don't even need to or want to be heard. And we know that's not true. But right along with the you don't need to be crying because you're a man or you're a boy, so you don't need to be crying. Right along with that toughness and the silence, like, how do we think that it even got like that for men, for it to be such a normal thing for them not to not be expressing themselves? I think right along with that has come this culture of, or not this culture, but this way, this societal norm of not even acknowledging that men need to be heard. I'm sorry, y'all. I have to take a drink of water. So while Black women are not being heard, we haven't even begun to acknowledge that men need to be heard. So who's right, who's wrong, who's better, who's worse? Like there's nothing to be battling, because on both ends there's always something. I can say hot, you can say cold. And it's like, like tomato, like it's still a thing on both ends. And so we haven't even begun to acknowledge that. Let's see. So I said, so who's doing the unhearing? Who's doing the non-listening? Like, who is it? Because in this battle, what I'm seeing, and you guys have seen this, you guys may have been in these conversations, what we're seeing is women are saying that we're not being heard, and men are saying that we're not being heard. Who are we expecting to hear us? The kids? That means that neither of us are hearing each other. It's quite simple. It's actually simple. And I love the idea of this battle of the sexes for the point to make that if you can look at how Black Americans, how we're doing this, you can reflect this on our own personal relationships, because it's really the same thing. We do the same thing in our own individual relationships. So we're taking this conversation, this argument from social media and from just talking with the opposite sex to just our personal relationships. And in our personal relationships, in our culture, we are having the same battle. You're not listening to me, or you're not listening to me. So who's listening and who's not listening? Do we have like a meter? Is there like some temperature check that's showing? Is someone tracking who's doing the listening? It means that we're both not listening then. That's what that means. Because we're both saying the same thing. Unless we're both lying. Is one of us lying and one of us telling the truth? Like, like none of this makes sense. It's all an illusion. That's the point of today's episode, is this battle of the sexes is all an illusion, and it needs to be shut down. It needs to be shut down because we got shit to do. Let me say that again. This battle of the sexes between Black Americans, it is all an illusion, and it needs to be shut down because we got shit to do. Like, it's cringy watching this argument, especially seeing how inflation is happening. It's cringy. I'm like, yo, we got so many other things to focus on. And we're literally arguing about who has had a more struggle. We should have been doing this in the first 10, 20 years of slavery. That would have made more sense because we got more of a chance now. That would have made more sense. Come on, like we got to get rid of this because it's slowing us down. So I said, how does this argument worsen? How does this argument worsen? And I believe that this argument gets worse because of us not listening to each other. I'm speaking specifically when we are in the middle of this conversation. So this is for you single. I don't know if married couples are having the same argument, but for you single black men and black women, when you are having this dialogue with the opposite sex, this is for you because this conversation is being brought up a lot. And I think that it's so much on the forefront of our brains that people are kind of like temperature checking each other to see, like, where do you stand in this? Like, do you agree that women go through more? Because I need to know if you agree with this before I go further, you know. Or a black man is like, can you hear what I'm saying before I go further? And the problem is communication. So there's this strategy that I learned a long time ago in my marriage. When I was married, I used to sign us up for counseling and like counseling couples retreats, like religiously. Okay. I was always searching for couples retreats and to be around couples and stuff like that. It didn't mean that it had to be something going on with us. I just knew how important that was to be around couples who wanted to work on their marriage and I just be around that advice. And so there is this technique that I can never forget. It's from a company called Forever for Real. I still have their books. I even use this in communicating with the kids. And so it's this technique where you grab an object and you use this object to speak about something that is an intense emotional that could get intense and emotional. And it's kind of like that thing where it's like, I got the mic, right? Like I got the mic so I can speak. But then it goes a little further, and it's like in your communication, when you're saying, I feel like this, I'm going through this, and it's the other person's turn to speak, instead of them just responding, because a lot of times we're only listening to respond. They have to first reiterate what you said so that they don't assume that they understand what you said. And so if I say, I feel like I am not protected as a black woman because yada, 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 the black man will then say, so you're saying that you feel like you're not being protected because of yada, yada, yada. Instead of saying, oh, so what you're saying is you're not being protected because because I didn't, and then going into this emotional tyrant. And this is what I'm seeing on social media. I'm seeing that the conversation is so intense and it's so emotional, rightfully so. Rightfully so. It's such a deep conversation, and we're not using the technique of just taking our time to really understand, to really listen, to not respond. And so practicing, and you can do this in in your day-to-day life. I've done this for so long that it's how I communicate with everybody. I don't assume. I know that I'm understanding. Even in customer service, they teach you this. When a customer is saying what the problem is, you need to reenact what the issue is. Okay, so you're saying that your cord got disconnected. You're saying that you did do a power reset. Okay, so then the next step, this makes for clearer communication. It helps it where there's a lot of static that doesn't have to be there. So you can go as deep as to use an object if you guys feel like you need that. It kind of helps with just making it very clear on who has the floor, but just making sure that you can repeat what the person is saying and really understand and say, are you saying this? Are you meaning this? Are you saying this? Before you respond to what they said. Because the thing is that when you say, well, I go through this and I go through that, and then the person responds with a rebuttal, which is normally what happens, They say, yeah, I hear you, but this is what's happening in this conversation. I know this because I've had these conversations. I literally like broke down the psychology of this like a month ago. And I was like, wow, like this is what's happening. Just from listening to somebody explain their interactions about this subject. So it's like, well, we go through this and we got to deal with this and we got to deal with that. I hear you. I hear you, sis. I hear you, but that but literally says you don't hear me. You're not listening to me. And so what Black men are saying is that they are listening because they ain't got no choice, because we talk so much and we're saying so much and we're always expressing ourselves. They are listening. They ain't got no choice. But really, you can't be. You can't be, because if you were, then we would feel heard and it wouldn't even be a thing. Right? And on the opposite side, we already know we're not listening. Women, let's keep it real. Like, we already know that we're not listening because we're so caught up on what we're going through and if you're listening. And there's such a taboo thing about men going through anything. So that's just already not happening. Right off the rip, it's just already not happening in most cases. So doing that strategy and really being like, are you saying that you're feeling this? It helps what do you call it, decrease the chances of us being offended. You know, there's no more assuming. And it's just clearer communication where both parties are feeling heard. Never say to someone that is expressing how they feel, I hear you, but. Never say that. I feel you, but. You can say but later on, or don't even say but at all. But when they are just saying what they are going through, don't say but. Okay. Oops. Let me go back. Let me read some of the comments before I go further. Oh, we're at an hour. Okay, it's not that bad. I agree. There is a new debate over what is acceptable for first date. Should we split the bill, etc. every week? Oh my God. What do you guys think about this? Are we still are we, you know, like as far as this audience, are we trying to be traditional with it, or are we like, are you guys going into this new phase of let's split the bill? Oh my God. What is it gonna be like for our kids? That's all I think about. I'm like, what are my kids gonna be? I don't even know if I can help y'all, because it's gonna be some new shit by the time y'all by the time our the kids are dating, the women are gonna be paying for everything and opening the doors. A lot of men want that. Like I argued with a man one time because he's like, you can open up the door sometimes. Whatever acts the other person out should, whoever acts the other person out should pay. I think that's definitely fair. For sure, because you definitely shouldn't be like, I mean, I'm not going to say you shouldn't be, because, you know, we're still kind of in that traditional era, but the audacity, I'll say, to be like, let's go out or take me out, and you know you're not the one paying. I agree with that. And also, I'm not that woman that is against, this might sound crazy, but I'm not that woman that is against paying for a date if it is someone that I've been like talking to. Because if I'm dating you, then we cool, like we peoples, you know? Like I'm not dating you if we not cool peoples. So, and I believe in treating a man too. So if we've been talking for a little bit and we cool, I don't mind. I would actually be like, I got it. Like let me get it. You know? If I'm good, you know, financially, and I'm feeling you, and I don't feel like I, you know, like it has to be like that. Like, you know, we cool peoples. I know that it's not like a big thing for us, you know, like, you know how like you go on dates with your friends and it's not like a, are you going to get the bill? Are you going to get the bill? Okay, let's split. Okay. Did they bring two checks? You know, like that kind of thing. That's how I can be with a man that I'm dating at times, you know, like it's not like you must pay for my meal. Like I don't feel like that. Um, but I definitely like, I mean, I already just don't even go on dates like that. Like the dates I've been going on is for content purposes and just like psychology purposes. Like I just want to like dissect, you know, it's just my nerd self, you know, loving the way humans operate and just wanting to experience that and share that with the world. But I'm not even like on some like, oh, let me, you know, see where this can take us thing. So if I am like that, then you're most definitely paying because I'm not offering us to go out. I don't, you know, I'm not worried about us going out. So that's definitely a thing. When it comes to bills and housework, etc., I think you should do what works for you in your relationship. I don't know why there's such a big discourse. I know, I agree with that. I agree with that. But you know the reason why it's like that is because we have control issues. Adults, we want to control everybody's life, even people's lives that we don't know. We think that everyone should do things the way that we do things. It's a mental illness. It's a very narcissistic mental illness trait that human beings have. That's why have all these questions on social media. Do the kids eat first or do you give the man the plate? Do you wash the dishes or do you do what works for y'all? Not only do you have to do what works for you guys, but what works for you guys actually changes as well. If we really want to be honest, that's the real thing of relationships. It changes. Somebody might lose a job, somebody might get hurt, somebody might be severely sick. Somebody might just get tired and overstimulated or overwhelmed with that particular thing. It changes. So the whole like the arguments of like if it needs to be done like this, if it needs to be done like that, it's really silly. Those are illusions too. Yes. So I say I wrote we are projecting ourselves into each other. Healing is needed, childhood oppression, and living in America because we're supposed to be doing because oh okay I already said that part pretty much because what we're supposed to be doing is focusing on other shit. So basically, in conclusion, right, is that we when we're having this battle, we are projecting ourselves onto each other. When we're speaking to one person and we're using the word y'all do this, y'all are always like this. What we're really saying is this is how I am. And this is the kind of woman and man that I've been choosing in my life. And this is the kind of mother and father that I've been experiencing. And this is the result of my oppression from being Black in America. That is really what is going on with this battle of the sexes in our culture. And really the focus needs to be raising kids, growing our own food, and getting ready for what is happening. There is some serious things taking place. Have you guys not been seeing what is going on? I'm talking about right on time, like fine wine. If you guys have been following me for a long time, y'all have seen me talk about this. Like, there is about to be a time that shit is going to get so real for us. And I know we think it's over. I know we think it's over. I know we think it was just those 2 years for some of us. But no, things are about to get turned up. And what we think was so shocking, if we look back 3 years ago, what we went through for those 2 years of the thing that I won't even name, we could have never imagined that. We could have never imagined that. The whole world shutting down like that, outside of all the money that was gained, the money that was lost, all types of things going on. I won't even get into it. But that was such a shocker for us. And now that we think that we're out of it, we think that it can't happen again. We think that it won't happen again. And I am here to remind you that it will and that it is. And so if you are speaking to somebody as a single person, and if they want to do this battle of the sexes, you need to ask yourself if you got time for this, or if you need someone that's going to be focusing on the bigger picture. That's it. I don't really see married people getting into this as much as us. And that's another thing too. When I'm seeing this argument, I'm like, 9 times out of 10, it's somebody that's single, unless they're on the verge of divorce, and they're feeling bitter and feeling these ways about their relationship. But if you feel like you have to have this battle, honestly, and I love you, but if you feel like you have to have this battle, there are things that you're not loving within yourself. Because I know that like, I know what Black women have been through. I know what I've been through as a Black woman, and I don't feel like I have to have this battle with anybody. I don't feel like the battle is necessary. I feel like there's other conversations that are more productive. And unless we're getting to a solution, I mean, and it better be a soft solution, because baby, I'm not arguing with you about this. I had to tell a brother one day, I am not about to sit on this phone and argue with you about who has been through more. I can't do this. I can't. And I had to check myself. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I had to check myself, because it makes me be like, damn, like, how many Black American men are really like, can't get out of this battle of the sexes thing? Can we even be together? Can we even move on? Like, can we even like coexist with each other? If in the back of your mind, you got this thing about women, you got this thing about Black women, and about women not hearing you, and how, women always get the upper hand, and like, you have to ask yourself that as a Black man. Can you even coexist with another Black American woman if she got this thing about men always, all the men are is trying to play her and trying to punk her, and want her to be submissive, and they can't even, like, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to turn it the other way, but you know what I mean. You got to ask yourself that, because baby, I don't got time for this conversation. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because it's such a waste of our time. It makes me feel like white people in high places, it makes me feel like they're in their offices, they're in their Black Wall Street offices, making millions a week, thousands a day, or whatever, millions a day, and they're just belly laughing at us. Like, look at them wasting such precious time on this conversation. And maybe that's extreme, but it really does come from a system that was set up to turn us against each other. There's someone knocking on my door, and I'm in the middle of an Earth is School episode. Huh? Thank you. No, no. Thank you. My children brought me food, guys. They are amazing. I didn't even know they were cooking something in there this whole hour. So, yes, I want to encourage you guys that if you are if you find yourself in this conversation with the opposite sex, speak to them with love. Speak to them with love and remind them that this is not a real conversation. This is an illusion and you have healing to do. Say that with love. I've done this. I've actually talked a man off the ledge in like I mean pertaining to this conversation. Okay, not literally the ledge. But I've talked a man out of anger and out of feeling resentful and all these different emotions from using love in this conversation. And we ended the conversation with him saying, "You right. This ain't even nothing to talk about. Like I didn't even want to get emotional about this. I didn't even want to get in it." He wasn't talking towards me. He was expressing to me the conversations that he's been having. And I was like, "Brother, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna hold you. But I'm out here and it's some bigger shit going on." And I know, like, I feel like when you're in the space, when you're in the place where this is such a big thing and such a conversation, it makes it more of a real thing for you. I mean, that's with anything. That's with anything. If you're living with somebody that is a problem, it's not going to be such a big problem once you get out of that house. You don't feel like it's such a big problem. So it's the same thing. So I feel like I probably can say this even easier because I'm not there, like in it. So I'm just encouraging you guys. I mean, I see so many posts every single day. Every single day, I see somebody putting the opposite sex in the same category. We don't even realize that. I think that Black Americans don't even realize that there are Black people that do not live in America, like that are not from America. When we say Black people are this, when we say, oh, men are this and men are that, we're just talking about Black Americans. We're not even talking about Black people all around the world. We have so many different perspectives. There's a lot of Black people that don't even know this argument exists. Some of my African friends are like, what are y'all talking about? Like, why are y'all talking so much about this? I have these conversations with my African friends. And they're like, yo, y'all be getting real hyped about the wrong thing. Like, and I have to explain to them that it is, even though it looks like that, because this does come from a deeper place. I also don't want to belittle the emotions that come from this. But we need to speak with love and we need to think through love, guys, because both of us have a reason to be upset. Both Black American men and women have a reason to feel the way we do. Both of us have a reason to say, look at what I've been through. And both of us have the right to be heard. And we should listen to each other without a but. We should listen to each other without saying but. So I'm going to close. I feel like I still did good, y'all, because it's an hour 22, 23 minutes. And it could have been a lot longer. Because this was a lot of subjects. These words are stressing me out. I need to, or maybe I don't. Maybe I don't need to get into that, but I haven't really. I seen a couple videos. One just popped up before I came on here, and I chose not to watch it because I can't stand to watch the kids and that whole thing. Like I can't even. It will not be helpful for me. Whew, man. Yeah, it will not be helpful for me. So be careful with that, you guys. I know that a lot of people are mourning and going through it. It's so amazing to me how we battle so much against each other and we go through the same experiences every day just with social media. Just with social media, when things happen in the world, we all share that experience. Think about how the world felt when Nip died. When Nipsey Hussle died, even when is it Takeoff? Even when he died, like we really be going through things together and acting like we don't, acting like we're not one. I should make a post about that. We need to be careful because there is a lot of people that I've been seeing getting caught up in that. And I just go right out of it. I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like I can only I can pray about it and I can pray for peace and everything, but there's certain things. It's just like how I had to dismiss like any type of like police brutality, like stuff like that. It's like you can only see so much. You gotta stay on the mission, you know. You can only watch so much of that stuff before it really is taking a toll of you. I mean on you. So please be careful. I'm not saying ignore it, because I mean, it's a really good thing that there are influencers and people that are sharing it, and with any type of, you know, tragic stuff like that that's happening in our world. But there's also levels to it. We got to take breaks. I appreciate you guys. Yes, right? She said, I don't want to know. I thank you guys so much for coming in. I'm so glad that you guys could hear this entire episode. I love you guys. Please thumbs up if you appreciate it, if you like this episode. Please thumbs up. Let YouTube know that Earth is School needs to be the biggest podcast on this platform. Please share. It doesn't matter if only one person sees it. It's going to make a difference. There's so many people having this argument that need to hear this. I want you guys to have a good night. Again, I appreciate you for coming in every single night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Without further ado, Earth is School. Do not forget that. You're so welcome. Yes, remember that Earth is School. All right. I love you guys. See you tomorrow. Hello, stranger. It's been a minute since we last kicked. By the way, just got in town. Never won't let cumulus clouds all in the sky. Who am I by? Usually I don't do this often, but since recruiting isn't an option, due to unusual rain in London, baby I wonder, put your sweats on. Yeah. I got the plug, I made the call.